Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of a talk with the Galactics. I believe this is going to be. I thought this was going to be elementals, but I believe this is more of an overall reaching race. I'm not actually quite sure. It's more of a feeling. This is more of an impromptu. So we will go from there on the basis that it is galactic, but also could have some basis. So we'll go ahead, and I'm going to mention what happened in Sedona the last time we were there. This is basically all off intuition at the moment. When we were in Sedona collecting some dirt, and no, I'm not going to say where we got it. We were collecting some dirt, and we went into Sedona, and the energy was atrocious. You don't expect it from Sedona, most people don't. But on this occasion, it was horrendous. And when we got to our usual spot, I started scattering shungite pieces. And after we collected the dirt, we got a bucket of dirt and left. We started to leave, and I felt this immense gratitude from somebody. At first I thought forest people, but in that it really was not forest people, and I don't believe it was just elemental. It may have been elementally based, but it was more a galactic community. So I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, and to be fair, it was only in a certain section.
Yeah, and it was only in a certain section of Sedona, not the whole city.
Yeah, we got off Interstate 17, which there's a Sedona exit. That's the way we went into Sedona, and it was really interesting because when you get off 17, you are going to drive for just a little bit before you start seeing any hint of red rock. The rock's going to look more grayish, more whatever, and then you start to see a little bit of red here, a little bit of red here, until you get into all of the red rock. It was just really weird because when we got to the section of even just starting to see red rock, it was like, we talked to your mom a little bit about it, and what she was thinking made sense. It's like there was a scanning field or something that was waiting for you, because you kind of turn a corner and you start to see red rock. It's like we turned this corner and it was like, what is this? And it kind of got heavier and heavier and worse. When we had actually stopped where we stopped, I was so amazed, because I was like, I couldn't live in this. I don't understand what's going on. I would not be able to live in this. I don't consider this good or pleasant, and it seems to be way more than what we normally feel from a magnetic field. It was something, it just was more, but it was intense. And I don't know, honestly, now. I honestly don't know what everybody feels. I know that when people go to Sedona, normally the magnetism causes an enhancement, but this was something different, because we go there every few months. So this was something different, but I wanted to just at least give perspective that it was a certain section, not the whole thing, because we ended up driving through the whole area coming back home via Cottonwood. So just wanted to give that perspective.
Yes, and it was a heavy area. Now there is military activity in that area. There's an area of Sedona that called Thunder Mountain, and there's an area of Sedona called Secret Mountain, or on the outskirts thereof, and each different areas of Sedona. And both these areas are known for extreme alien activity. Base of Thunder Mountain, there is a bed and breakfast there. I'm not going to name the name, but where I got a picture of some grays one time out there, and they were very retaliatory after I'd gotten their photograph. Under Secret Mountain, there is a whole military installation. Boynton Canyon, military installation. There's ropes cordoning off and chains and fences cordoning off different areas of Sedona. They've locked it down more tightly in certain areas there now. And the New Age stuff is more scoffed at now. And this is one of the things the forest people and elementals and galactics wanted restored, is the way it used to be, like, say, back in the 90s. So I'm going to, I still believe this is a galactic group, but they're elementally based, probably from somewhere else. I don't know if they're from the Sedona area or they moved here. Moved here. That's all I'm hearing. I don't necessarily just see this. There's somebody is wanting this message out. So and there is immense gratitude by giving them a forum. So I'm not sure who they are, but they do have an open heart space. I'm thinking they're more akin to ant type or another bug type. I'm not quite sure. They have a kind energy. Also, it's very windy here, folks. So if you're hearing a lot of wind, and there's a lot of people around, but not making too much noise. You're hearing kids in the background, but everybody else seems to be quietly fishing here. So let me see. All right. Did you want to come through in the normal fashion, or did you want me to just continue on? Oh, okay. All right. All right. Let's see. They're very thankful, but their energy is a little different here. I'm not sure who they are. Let's see. Greetings. Our time is brief doing this. We are indeed what you would consider part of the greater galactic community. Yes, we do care for nature, but are foreign to these lands. We do live in the hills of your Sedona Red Rocks, along with the forest people and a plethora of others. One of which are a negatively based species you would call trogs or troglodytes, and yes, that is their actual designation. We are more of an insect type species that live in the rocks, along with also the Kazatul and several others. It's a thriving galactic community, but also there are darker elements, such as some of your military activity, the 2 locations mentioned, plus several others that are unknown to you, that are beneath the entirety of your Sedona region, except for a very small portion. There is something of this that we must clarify. Your focus on vertices or vortexes. Some are not what they appear, and that they are, you would say, military scams, very much like the ones you encountered that seemed off. Those are distractions from the real spiritual base. We're not saying they all are as such, but there are multiple ones that pop up because of military activity. But I will continue in a different thread. We showed gratitude towards you because you put shungite on the lands of other homes and in the lands of the area through dust forms and several other. In this, it spreads into the magnetic nature of the dirt, enhancing its capabilities. This is why the dirt and shungite are a terrific mix, because one enhances the other through electromagnetism and what you would refer to as static, but it bases in other areas. We thrive off of this energy and do not like the bases around the original Myrrh temples that were once there after the Myrrh Sea was gone centuries later. we moved into this area. Now, some of the energies in this area are based in old nuclear fusion and magnetics. Plus, you have bits of your Martian planet and bits of your Maldekian planet. Ourselves, we come from outside your system in a region of space you would call the Boots, along with another race that you've heard from thus far, and various others. We are not necessarily a collective mind, but we are telepathic. We are not a hive either. We are individuals that are linked through what you call entanglements. And we can pass traits from one race to another race of our kind. And speak telepathically through emotions and speech. The bringing of the Shungite to our area helped greatly because your military industrial complex was experimenting with different types of vortex and portal technologies, exploiting an ancient doorway that was already there, that was of Mer technology, that was lost to them when the water boiled away. And when your military discovered this, they were elated, to say the least. This is why what you call the New Age movement is shutting down there in the Sedona area. But it can be restored with the proper application of intention, Shungite, of course, and various other elements, of which I will not go into detail at this moment, but suffice it to say, there are other elements that have not been discovered that will help out greatly, mixed with the dirt, such as the one you discovered, magnetite sand from the opposite end of the country, and various other magnetics will interact with the dirt. Your cat's eye will work as well, but there are other undiscovered elements that will also work as well. We must be brief, but we are open to questions.
So, before I ask you a little bit about your culture, I just want to clarify. It was just kind of one of those things where we just happened to come across when some experimentation was going on. Is it something that they cut out and off, like it's not constant? We just happened to get in there at the time it was being on, or is it something now that's constantly on? And then how do persons that aren't as sensitive to energy, how does it make them react? What's going on with that?
It is not constantly on. It is flipped on like a light switch, you would say. You just happened to catch it when they were experimenting. At the time, there is no accidents for these things, that you happen to cancel out the effects when you did. And how people react when they feel this is a bit of discord, uneasiness, nausea, and brain imbalances chemically. These are the reactions.
Okay. So even if a person wasn't as sensitive to energy, something was going to go on with them, even if they didn't really understand the source of it or not. That's what I was curious.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. So I am curious then about your culture, because, what brought you to Earth? Do you go back to your planet? Was this something you guys have been around here forever like other races and kind of settled and colonized in that area? So tell us a little bit about you.
We did settle and colonize in that area. You would say we are the descendant lineage of the original colonists. We did come from the Boosts, you would call it, or Arcturian system, though we are not attributing us to that name. Our people came to your world in the times of the world of magic, and we colonized small portions. But when we noticed the world was being divided, we hid in the area after the Sea had boiled, exactly 300 years after the Sea boiled. We colonized the Sedona area and kept it safe from most intrusions until the AI decided to build an energy collection unit that has since been shut off. It was a smaller unit. In some cases, the AI cannot be around the red Earth because of not just the radiation in which they placed there, but the magnetics of the area, the combination of the two. And now the third thread, which is shungite. The area is becoming vastly toxic to them. In the past decade alone, they have not been able to withdraw energy from that area. They attempted to do so recently and failed. It is a toxin to them now, but they can have human insiders, you would say, influence the energy with intentions or misappropriated discernment in this. Then other races are invited in, but we digress. We colonized the area and have kept it safe for over 100 generations. But when other races moved in, such as your forest people and the Kazatthul and the like, and the Trogs of the old world, energies changed, people changed. We allowed our new neighbors, at first within reason, now we cherish them, except for the negatively based Trogs, that is. They are more like, you would say, vermin. But we digress. Think of your chupacabra species, you would call it. The Trogs are very similar to that, but they can fly, and they travel in your packages and mail. So do Jinn, but we digress. In this, our culture came from a vast, you would see it as a honeycomb type construct within a very similar region, similar to your Sedona area on our world, but we are also technologically advanced. We do not have some of the same technologies as our ancestors did, because some of those were lost to us in the separation times. We are the descendant lineage, yet there are still some of our kind that have recently spoken to us from the boots and are also rejoining us in this now times, what you would refer to as the prophesied age. This is the age of which our ancestors spoke of. We have seen these changes, even though the prophecies are diluted and misinterpreted. They were still speaking of these times. What you would call prophesied are end times, but there are no ends, only reboots and beginnings. Not a reboot as in cataclysmic, but reboot as in forever, you would translate it.
Right, more of, again, instead of going down in flames, coming out of the flames and creating a better experience. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to call it golden time, I don't want to call it anything like that. So it is interesting then that your people have actually been here this entire time. Mm-hmm. How did your people fare against the negativity and the lowering of frequencies? How does your race react to that kind of stuff?
We stayed not only within what you would call bunkers, mm-hmm. that we create out of stone, but we are partially immune to influence. We are fully immune, however, amongst the red rocks, because they provide a certain shielding very similar to our very own homeworld, a very similarly charged, magnetically charged environment. Now, you might be concerned about the nuclear radiation. It has been thousands and thousands of years past, and it actually became a beneficial fusion with the magnetic red earth. the red earth combined with the nuclear reaction, creating an area that is unique on your world. If the red earth were integrated into nuclear-rich sites, the same effect would take place, but over a period of 1,000 or more years.
Okay, so I'm curious about your emotional state, because the one thing, I just ponder about these things. If I were seeing things for as they were, not being as affected by the negativity, but all these other people around me were, let's say, because we just don't know any other way to talk about this, lowering in frequency themselves, so they were becoming more dense and a more dense behavior for being more dense. And here you are not as susceptible, and here you are staring around, looking at it all. It would I would find personally, maybe that's just being human, it would be hard for me not to go nuts. So how did you guys handle watching all of this from the sidelines, sort of?
Part of it was out of self-preservation for our race. We remember these things because we have a genetic memory that is more open than your kind's suppressed genetic memory traits, or so you think. It was very difficult to watch the subjugation and the farming, and it still is, but we know that with this slow integration of information, you will regain what you have lost as a race and actually gain much more in the process by which you have been oppressed. You see, by being oppressed by these very beings, you actually become the very danger that they fear.
Yeah, I agree with that statement, because the noise that was once controlling it slowly ends up just being the noise in the background and the fly in the background, and you're not the human's ability to willingly move past something surprises people. They can just continually move past. I say that, but again, this is something we're coming out of this for hundreds of years now. This isn't just now, and we're just, I think, moving into a time frame where it's now exponential growth. That just feels that way to me. But so I find all that very fascinating. So just really quickly then, tell me about the lifestyle of your family. Do you just have little small family units? Is the whole group considered a family? Children? What's it look like?
We have children very similar to some of your insect species with eggs, but they are considered the same as your children are, and family units are very similarly based, but we are all connected through common quantum entanglements, you would say, and can spread traits via, you would call them codexes, to each other. If we learn something, like say here, for example, we can transmit those traits back to our brethren on the home world in the boots, and they then can upload, you would say, that knowledge base to themselves, and it passes to the next generation in genetic memory. We do not have schools like you, because with each generation new things are learned. New knowledge about new species are learned. New friendships and new adversaries are learned. But we do not teach adversarial behavior, more of a defensive posture, and this gets saved in the genetic memory, very much like your own species, but your own species have forgotten how to access this. This will change in time as certain oppressions disappear and certain information comes back out. You will relearn these skills.
So if schooling isn't necessary because it's in the energetic genetic memory, you're born with it, what are the skills that have to then be taught to your younger ones before adulthood? What is it you focus on?
We focus on some social behaviors, as you would say, mingling in with the group. We don't just depend on the genetic memory. Also, when we encounter something brand new, such as a lot of the races that have now appeared around Earth and have been here and that we are encountering day to day, those get transmitted within the genetic memory and therefore are transmitted to the young back when this million was here.
So that's interesting. Are there particular people that gravitate towards particular skills?
Yes, you can say that. We do have what you would call an engineering grouping and maybe more of a spiritual grouping. But the sciences and the magics are more of a oneness with our group, but there are some that more gravitate, like yourselves, more towards art and some towards more machinery. In this, though, these things can be merged and we do interchange these roles. It also just depends on interest. You would call them castes, but that is not an accurate term. Think of you have groups that enjoy particular things such as music, art, design, say for clothing, or sciences such as genetics. We do have these different roles, but we also notice when a young person is born and we see that their genetic memory is aligned in a particular way, you would think that we are assigning through genetics. This is not true. We just see what the aptitude is of the young person before they know what they're interested in. Now they could surprise us and be interested in several things. Just like some of your youngsters, you would say, want to experiment with different modalities, you would call it, or different modes of life before centering on one thing.
And so again, are you similar to the Sasquatch where you reside in a slightly different frequency, which is why we don't see you, we don't see your housing, we don't see whatever you're working on, because in general you're at a slightly different frequency, or are you shielding us from seeing you and we're more close in frequency than that?
It is elements of the two. We can use technology holographically to hide ourselves amongst the rocks, but we can phase shift into different frequencies, such as your forest people can.
And are you one of the with the military? Because again, there certainly are humans on this earth that are very well versed in the multitude of races that are on this earth and that come and go. Are you known as a grouping to the ones in general who try to keep track of all the species on Earth?
Yes, indeed. They're well aware of our presence, but there's not much that they can actually do about it. You see, we are in an area that you would call a tourist area. It is a place full of people, a mecca, if you will, and we firmly plant our flag in the ground. So even though they do know about us, they cannot remove us without being noticed, either for themselves or us.
And so most every race, well, probably all races that have come in contact with me and Chris, they fall into many categories. Many of them that are here, that have been through it, that are benevolent, they take up I don't know how to say this. They take up a cause, something that's calling to their group to want to participate in the raising of the frequencies. Is there anything particular that you guys are drawn to in the means of helping that process?
We more firmly plant our flag in the ground where we are so that certain forces cannot advance beyond where they are, just as like your militaristic forces or that of the frog or that of any other race that wishes to plant their flag. You see, when we plant a flag in an area, we, as you would say, concrete our presence there. Therefore, spreading into a certain area is impossible for any of these other races. They must coexist if our presence is as such there.
Okay, so again, I do believe that happens, that certain, even humans, are drawn to certain areas. They're living in that area. They don't even realize on an energetic level what they're doing. But on an energetic level, they are guarding or protecting or doing, humans as well as what you're saying. You guys are consciously doing it as a race. So I'm going to make an assumption, you can correct me, that you must be in alignment with the Sasquatch and other groups of the area that are trying to develop a pretty significantly sized neutrality area encompassing parts of Prescott all the way out to the Sedona area. It's actually not a small task, but I'm assuming you're a part of the group that is in agreement with that.
Indeed, we wish it to be a neutral area, because once it is declared that by not only your kind, but the greater galactic community, certain rules come into effect even for your kind. Mm-hmm. The military kind of the area must also abide a neutral area. Now, are they fighting this? In some respects they are, but most of the people, most of your people that exist within these bases actually want this in that area. You may feel dark energy from time to time in these places, but there are good people there that are attempting to gain an upper hand or a foothold, not militaristically, but changing positions, you would say, or shuffling, very much like our people do. Mm-hmm. We plant our flag in an area, so do some of your kind, in order to help others gain sovereignty.
Well, that's really very, very nice to hear, and it's actually very nice to hear that there's other support by humans as well. It's wonderful to hear that. So I'm just going to turn it over to you for any last words.
In this, we neglected to mention our kind's name. Not that anybody can do much about it. Hi. Hello. We are known as the Bushwa, and we ask that you throw and plant your flag in areas of which you want sovereigns in your own societies. In this we must depart. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, they were getting a little antsy there. So, okay. I know this is a shorter episode of the show, but we have to go now. There are more people present, but that is all right. We interacted with another good group. What they were trying to say is put shungite dust and put stones in different areas that you feel the energy needs changing, especially in the Sedona area. If you pass through there, find shungite powder or stones, place in that area, and they will be very appreciative. So this ends an episode of the talk with the Galactics. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.